When I came here as this big psychotherapist. And then my ego came crashing down when I said, oh my God, in this country, I'm nobody. My name is Mallika Bhatia, and I'm a psychologist and a hypnotherapist. I've been in Munich since the last 13 years. Before practicing in Munich, I was also practicing in India for about 8 years. So, in all, I've been practicing psychotherapy and hypnotherapy for about 18 years. I also run an organization, a support group called TARA, Supporting Mothers Through Loss, which is absolutely free of charge. But it's a support group for women who have abortions, miscarriages, or lose a child during their pregnancy. And we try and meet in person once a month in Munich. But Tara has supported people also across Germany. So we also have had online meetings. That's what I do.
Thank you. And why you chose Germany?
I didn't choose Germany. Germany chose me. So we came here, me and my husband, we came here mainly because we wanted to travel. He had a job opportunity here, and it was a posting for a year. The plan was that we'll travel around, and then we'll go back, because traveling every time from India to different cities of Europe was going to be really expensive. So we came with a bucket list and a timeline, and we said, okay, in a year we'll go back. And that's how long his project was supposed to be. So it got extended to 2 years. Our bucket list was not complete because we kept adding places, and we are still here. Yeah.
And how was the integration in the beginning, in the first year, let's say?
The first year was actually very exciting. Um, I think it was also to do with age and the fact that we were both just us, like we didn't have children back then. So integration was very different. I joined a German course as soon as I landed, like within a few weeks. And I think that was the best decision I took, because if you speak the language, then you've won half the battle, but you can never speak good German. But there was a tip that somebody gave me as soon as I landed, and that was, don't focus on the grammar, just speak. The grammar would improve. And I think that was an amazing tip, because I did that and it helped. So yeah, I think because of learning of the language, I also met a lot of people who had come to Germany at the same time as I did. So I formed a friend circle, and it was fairly easy that way. It got difficult when I started to work. That was the difficult part, because as a psychotherapist, my degrees here weren't recognized. And even though I had taken a break when I came here, I had shut my clinic. I had actually not shut it, I'd given it to somebody, and I said, you use it for a year, I'll come back and take over. But we decided to stay on, and then I thought, okay, I have to now start working, because I was missing that part. We traveled a lot in the first few years. That's why we came. So it was great, but I was missing work. And that is when the difficult part started. I found out that, like I said, I can't work as a psychotherapist. Thankfully, I could work as a life coach. Nothing wrong with being a life coach. I am not judging people who decide they want to be coaches. But to become a psychotherapist, I studied for about 8-9 years. To be a coach, I could just do a 6-month course and I can be a coach. So for me, to be very honest, also for my ego, it was like, I was a psychotherapist in India. And here I am, starting from scratch as a coach. But I think the support that my partner gave me was amazing. And here I am talking to you now. So yeah, that's the short answer for integration.
And how you managed to become a psychologist?
Psychologist. So Actually, it took me many, many years till I figured out that. So there was this phase when I was really frustrated because the private practice was on, but it was not really, I was not utilizing my time enough. I had more time than the number of patients or the clients that I was working with. And so it was purely out of frustration that I wrote a few emails to the Arbeitsamt. Then I figured out that maybe I could study. So I wrote to a few universities here. And I wrote to, I forget the name, but it was something with people who come with specialized education that is not recognized here. I can check and tell you the name. So I wrote to all of these people and I thought, okay, maybe they'll help me. And I sent all my qualifications. The Arbeitsamt got in touch and said, unfortunately, you are too highly qualified for us to help you. I was like, thank you. I said, okay, what do I do? And they said, oh, we can help you finding a job in a kindergarten. So I was like, okay, I'm sorry, but that's not what I want to do. Um, that's not my forte, right? Like I do completely respect the teachers, like the kindergarten in my who take care of my children. Like it's amazing what they do, but I am not capable of that. So then that chapter was closed. About a year after my email, I never received an email from the universities. Having said that, I didn't even follow up. But I received an email from um, the specialist. I'll check that and tell you the exact name. I received an email from them a year after I wrote an email saying, "Ah, you contacted us. Now we are here." It's like, okay. So anyway, but it was good to finally go and meet somebody who already had all my degrees and said, oh, but you know that these degrees already qualify you as a psychologist in Germany. So that's how it was, just a very slow, bureaucratic process, like everything in Germany is.
So you had not to go through like translations and
No,
apostille and nothing.
no. Though, if I want to call myself a psychotherapist, because there's a difference between a psychologist and a psychotherapist, then I would have to do all of that.
Okay.
But it doesn't really matter now. Like I've been, now the practice is established. I'm doing a lot of things that give me happiness and satisfaction. And like maybe if some, in a few years, I think I want to do more or I want to earn more money, then I might do it. But as of now, I've just parked it on the side.
Is it different to be a psychologist here compared to India?
I've realized it's not, because all around the world, human issues are the same, emotions are the same, mother in law problems are the same. So it's not. Obviously, there are slight cultural differences. So, but if I talk about my client base here, I do work with a lot of Indians, but I also work with Germans. I work with Americans, basically everybody who can speak English or Hindi. I do speak German fluently, but I don't work in German because my work is about the nuances of language. So, and what I've realized is across culture, human emotions are the same, human issues are the same, and there is not much difference. The difference is, though, in the business side of it. In India, when I left, I was already a famous psychologist. I was established. I used to give TV interviews, and so I was coming from there. Here, it took me years to reach where I've reached. So that is the difference. To enter the German market, so to say, was where the difference came, because Germany is not really supportive of people who are self employed. The policies aren't supportive at all, in fact, neither the insurance nor the taxes, nothing. So if I did not have the financial support of my husband, I would have not survived.
Can you tell me some details about the insurances and taxes as a self-employed person here? It's
Don't get me started. So, as a self-employed, my health insurance is higher than somebody who's employed at a company. It changes every year depending on how much money I earn. Usually it goes up, it never comes down. I've decided to still be in the public healthcare system. So for now, I think I'm paying a lot of money, but it's a choice that I've made. So that's one. In terms of taxes, as a self-employed, the taxes you pay are much higher, and especially for specific cases like mine, where me and my husband file our taxes together, and he works for an organization. Like, so he's not self-employed; he is an employee, and as an employee, he gets a certain amount of money. But when we pay taxes, I have to pay a lot more taxes because the family income comes out to be much higher than what I earn. So that's another thing. Then, as there is liability insurance in my work, and the insurance story in Germany is like a really long one. But yeah, I think overall with taxes and Finanzamt,
you
it's
have to make every year, I think, or quarter.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there is a tax consultant who would also charge a hefty fees because you are self-employed.
But you can deduce his payment
Yes.
from the tax. So
Yes. You
that's
can deduce their payments from the taxes. That is there for sure. And I do deduce, like, I have an amazing tax consultant, and she's really supportive. But the fact is that because I'm self-employed, she charges me more. It's as simple as that. So
but I know that, for example, your husband pays less, maybe also because the company also pays.
yes.
Because I know it's half half, and you have to pay everything for yourself.
Yeah.
That's why.
Exactly. Yeah. That's true. But eventually, for a self-employed, if I earn 100 euros, I give a huge chunk of it away. What is left in terms of my earnings would actually be just about 35 to 40 euros. But that's very low if you see. If I'm earning, if my income is 100, but what I keep, the profit by the end of it is just 35, 40 euros, then it's nothing, right? And then then there will be people who want to come to me, obviously, as a therapist. They want my services, but then they'll say, oh my God, this is a lot of money. Why don't we uh, go to a therapist that accepts insurance? And absolutely, that's an absolutely fair choice. I understand that. But there aren't many English speaking therapists. So, in any case, they in turn do come, and I understand that the client thinks that they are giving therapists who are self-employed a lot of money, but the therapists aren't making that money.
You talk about the cultural differences between Indians and Germans. Can you give me some examples?
Absolutely. So the first example is when I arrived here, I decided that I'm going to bake a cake and go and say hello to my neighbors. um, and of course, that's what I understood of the West, right? I was coming from India, and I'd seen it in the rom-coms, and I said this is a good thing to do. So I baked a cake, and I went to the lady next door, and I rang her bell, and I said, "Hi, I'm your new neighbor. I'm from India, and I've baked a cake for you." And she looked at the cake, and she was like, "Hallo, nee, das will ich nicht haben," which translates to, "No, I will not take this." I was like, wow. I don't remember how my reaction was, but I was surprised. And she was not rude. in the way she said it. But for me, it was rude. And she just said, "Welcome to Germany." And then she just closed the door. I was like, okay, that's really strange. But I think what they say is absolutely true. The Germans are rude, right? Because that's what I grew up hearing. 2 days later, though, she rang my bell and said, I now realize that this must have come across as really rude to you. I was not trying to be rude. I was just telling you that I am on a diet and I don't want to have sugar. And I would still actually like to get to know you. So let's go for a walk. And that for me was a revelation. I was like, oh, wow, this was such an honest conversation. Like she was absolutely honest about what she thought I felt, what she was going through, and the fact that there is an alternative, right? Like for us Indians, a big connecting factor is food, right? So we would connect over food, tea, chai. That's where we connect. But to go for a walk to get to know somebody was brand new for me. And but that was 13 years ago. Now all these years have passed, and we actually have a medical emergency kit of that neighbor in our keller at all times, if in case there is any emergency. So over the years, the relationship reached a level where she trusts us completely, and we are like family. And she was much older; she is in her 70s now. But yeah, so culturally, it is a lot different from where I grew up. Indians are very diplomatic. That's we are taught to be diplomatic. It's rude to be honest. And you should always consider the other person's feelings when you say something, which is what Germans would do too, but in a different way. They will still be honest. And that's something I have learned, and I think it's a very good learning. But now I don't fit in well when I go back to India because I'm too honest for that. But yeah, so that's one cultural difference.
Do you have more?
Yeah, I'm sure there are plenty. The food habits. We eat warm meals, right? We grew up in a hot country, in a warm country, and we are used to cooking fresh meals and eating warm meals every single meal. So breakfast, lunch, dinner. Here, that doesn't happen. There is broadside. You could just have a salad. So that is another difference. Then meat consumption, relationships, friendships here are very different from friendships in India. Um, Here, when you say somebody is a friend, it almost always runs really deep, right? They would take a lot of time for you to get into their circle. Whereas that's not the case in India at all. In India, you meet somebody and you say, "Oh, hello," and you meet twice and you're friends. There's a different thing that you may not be sharing anything personal. You may not even trust this person with your emotions, so we'll still consider them friends. And here that's different. So that's another cultural difference.
Do you have German friends?
Oh, a lot of them. Like this neighbor, we actually are her emergency contact. So yeah.
Can you give me some secrets of managing to get the German friends? Because I'm trying for 5 years and it's not working.
Wait for 13. No, I think there are no secrets. You just need to find your tribe, your kind of people, and be patient. Don't try too hard.
I'm not trying too hard. I just would like to because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have
yeah.
friends from all over the world except Germany and in Germany. So
Yeah.
it's like, why can I not connect with them?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know any secrets. It just developed over time. And like right now, since you're talking to me, I'm thinking I do have a lot of German friends and really close ones. But there's nothing special that I did. I just gave time to everything. And I chose the people I wanted to be friends with. So but I think that comes with age. You're way too young to do that. But I chose the kind of people that I wanted to spend my time with. And then I just said, oh, Do you want to go out for a walk? Do you want to go out for a coffee? And yeah, I think time, common interests, similar values. That's what. And then after that, then you stop seeing their nationality at all. They're just then humans.
People.
Yeah.
What do you miss about India?
Food. Of course, I'm an Indian. I have to miss food. So what I miss is the food. I do miss festivals, and that's it.
But recently we had some festivals
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. We did have festivals, and I also did participate in them and celebrate in them, but it's not the same, right? Here, to attend, to be part of a festival, you need to buy a ticket. Like, who buys ticket for Christmas, right? Or so those are the two things I miss: food, and even though the food scene is improving now, thankfully. Otherwise, all Indian restaurants would serve the same cream-based gravy. It was so Germanized. That is slowly changing, but the street food, all that, my mouth is watering thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, the street food is awesome.
Yeah, and India has such a variety, like because every Bundesland, every state has its own cuisine, has its own language. The diversity is something that I also miss, and I that's something I wanted to always give my children, but I can't here, right? Yeah.
Do you think of going back?
I don't think we can go back because we will get a culture shock when we go there now. But also because the sorry, the children are born here, and till a certain point, my daughter used to say, "Ich komme aus Deutschland, meine Eltern kommen aus Indien," which was, "I am from Germany, but my parents are from India," because this is the only place she's seen. This is where she's taken birth. This is where she's growing up. So for her, this is home. Even for my son, this is home. And now, because we decided, like we as parents chose to have our children here, I think it's also a responsibility for us as parents to say, okay, your home, your security will be wherever you feel the most comfortable. And if it's Germany, then so be it. So no, I don't think we are going back. Yeah.
And how it is to have children here in Germany?
Oh, that is a blessing. Like it's a very good country to have children in. The support, the hospital care, the like every aspect, except for if you're not lucky, you don't get places in kindergarten, but it's a very good place. The like if you go to a shop and if your child breaks something, they don't have to pay for it. Like that's a very small thing, but it's also not, because it shows the entire attitude of the culture where children are welcome, they are accepted, they're allowed to make mistakes, and they're allowed to be loud. So it's a very good country to have children in.
And what about the rent? Um, is it good?
No, the rent I think takes up about 50% of your whatever you earn. So the rents are very high, obviously depending on which part of the city you live, but I think every part of Munich is expensive. Though I've heard of places in Germany that are not as expensive. I've never seen them.
Should go to the east part.
Yeah,
It's cheaper.
yeah, but now this is home.
What is the, let's say, average of um, money which you spend per month as a self-employed person with a husband, which is also an employed person, and like for food here, for rent, how much you still have in the end of the month?
Nothing. I'll have to actually think and calculate it, because we do spend a lot. I think we end up saving only about 500 to 800 euros a month. Nah, I can't give you a number, unfortunately.
Okay.
But it'll be a lot of calculation.
And do you invest this money or just save them?
So for a long time, we just saved it. Uh, but then a few years ago, we decided to invest as well. And both of us are not very active when it comes to looking at the stock market or looking at investments. Those are not our fortes at all. So we have somebody who would invest a certain amount every month on our behalf, but that's it. Yeah, so that the money is just not lying and sleeping.
Are you happy here?
We're happy.
And you?
Like when I say we, I do promise I start with myself because
Okay.
that's the first thing. No, I am happy here. um I think in all aspects of life, my personal life, I have like a great friend circle. I can just swear by them, and I know if I ever need, they'll be there. I have like my social life is great. Work is very satisfactory. I'll be happy to get more money, but work gives me a lot of happiness. There's health, there's clean air. um Everything is great. Yeah, I'm happy.
Since we talk about emotions, what are the main problems of people which come to you, let's say, which come from India and they don't adjust so well here? What are they confronted with?
So the especially when people come from India, the first thing is exactly what we already spoke about, which was the cultural differences, right? When we come, we think everybody's reaction is directed at us. So if somebody is drawing a boundary, which Germans are good at, and it's a positive thing to have, as an Indian, you're not good at drawing boundaries because that's not something you are taught when you're growing up. It's changing now, but earlier it was not how I grew up, for example. So if somebody is drawing a boundary and saying, no, I don't like this, or I would not do this, we take it personally. As Indians, we take it as, oh, they're being rude, they don't like me, they reject me, I am not accepted. Those are the biggest issues that I also work with when people come to me with those. The second is social acceptance, in terms of it's difficult to become friends with Germans. So that, yeah, mainly those. The third is also isolation. They feel alone. Again, I don't think it's specific to India, but if you are coming from a different country, in that country, you already have a social setup. You have friends and relatives and cousins. And so, there is somebody to go to for various things, even though you might feel alone and all of that, but you still have it. Here, you have to create it from scratch. Usually, people come here in their adult lives. When we come in our adult lives, we are already full of a lot of judgment, and we our view is tainted, right? We will judge people for this and that, and also we ourselves, we've defined our personality, and we're saying, okay, now I will not change. Like I said, when I came here as this big psychotherapist, and then my ego came crashing down when I said, oh my god, in this country I'm nobody. And that was like a big lesson for me, and I'm now I can say that I'm glad it happened, because it made me a better person. But that's another thing where we come from, some of us come from success to complete zero. So that is also an issue to
Yeah,
work
so
with.
from the people which I talk with, the points which you mentioned, like the ego, the loneliness, and then the rejections, especially when they try for jobs because the
Hmm.
economy is not great right now. And they all mention this. What's your advice for them to cope better with everything which is going on inside and outside?
So there is no one formula that I can give which will help everybody, of course, but a few tips would be to create a circle of people who you can talk to. Right now, they don't have to be Germans, they don't have to be super successful, but it could be a community right? There are multiple communities that like that already exists, depending on the country you're coming from or the state you sorry, that is the state you're coming from. So get yourself to know people where you feel okay, I belong, so that whenever you have low days, which you will, you have somebody to share them with. So that's the first. Second, specifically in the German economy, is patience. Everything requires patience. Like, I think Germany is a patience tester in every aspect of life. So be patient and seek support. If you feel so alone that this opportunity which you created and which you worked hard, which was to go to Germany, is making you sad, then seek support. Speak to a therapist for that matter. There are therapists who accept insurance, and then there are those who don't. But, like, even I don't accept insurance, but students have a much discounted fees because I know students can't afford my full fees. So for them, the fees is like hugely discounted. So seek support. Basically, in the first few months, even years, the key is to create a social fabric around you where you can sometimes blend in, sometimes rely on, and then take it from there.
And something specifically for women?
Mm. Yeah, women is a completely different aspect. Okay, let me think about this.
Sure, sure.
But when you say women, do you mean safety, in terms of safety, or do you mean in terms of psychological health?
I think both.
So I think for women who come as dependents, it's specifically an issue because unless you learn the language, you can't really work. If you can't really work, unless you're in software, I mean, software, everything works. If you can't work, you don't integrate, right? So a lot of women feel that they've left their flourishing careers behind, which is true. It's not that they feel it, it's actually true, which was also the case for me, right? And that also has an impact on their well-being, so to say. Sometimes a lot of women decide that we'll change careers into easier careers which are acceptable here, even with their degrees, but it's always a compromise. So that has an impact, a negative impact on this, on mental health. And that's something that I have worked with a lot of times, where women feel burdened because all the household duties are on their heads, and yet not integrated, not happy, not fulfilled because there's no career. So that's some of the aspects that women, specifically coming from India, feel and face here. My advice for them would be to say, when actually, if you can, before coming to this research, and I know in a lot of cases it's not possible, but this is an issue with the German society. It's not the German society. I think it's this part of the world, so to say, where even the men that I work with, when they are seeking partners, they prefer to find a girl here who's already integrated, only for practical purposes. Because if I bring a wife from India, she will have to go through 5 years at least of learning the language, getting to know the culture, understanding the food, and she'll have no life of her own. She will be 100% dependent on me, and I'm not sure I can provide that much support, so to say. So, so that is an aspect that women, if possible, can already see, if it's a choice, to say, okay, I don't think I want to go here because I don't have a career here. Or if you think no, I don't want to have a career, I'm happy being where my partner is, then great, have that, but have a lot of hobbies. You'll have to be an extrovert. You will have to go out, meet people, join various clubs so that you feel at home here. Because as humans, we need other humans to feel at home. In isolation with just our partner, we can't. Even if you have a really happy relationship, you still need people outside. So
In the end, one life advice would you give to people after living here for so long?
what comes across as rude is sometimes just honesty. So be open to the idea that not everything is directed to you. Don't take everything so personally. Sometimes it's just culture.